Hi everybody, this is Captain Kyle. I'm here with 9 tips to help you make your cosplay photos much better. Have you ever looked at a cosplay photo that someone took of you and you're like, oh, there I am, and I'm in costume. Wouldn't you much rather have it be like, oh my god, that photo is awesome, I am going to share that with everyone. So this video has a bunch of techniques used by many cosplayers, including myself, to make cosplay photos pop. So before we get started, just a quick reminder, if you like this video, go ahead and mash that like button. And you might want to share this video with your friends. They might appreciate it. And of course, if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. You can see all kinds of other videos on cosplay, conventions, and fandom. And there's a little bell icon, click that. That way you get notifications when we have new videos. So to help me out with this posing video, I'd like to introduce May from Maeden Cosplay.
Hi.
Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Now, May is a very talented cosplayer, and these are techniques that she uses as well. So let's get started. So by knowing your character, we don't mean you need to know exactly what happened in issue 57 and page 3, panel 7. You know, you don't have to be in that much detail on your character. Though if you are, hey, good for you. But you should know enough about how your character's personality is, because that's going to affect a lot of the ways that you use these tips.
You want to really embody your character. Try to display their personality traits. Supergirl is very positive and upbeat. Raven is moody. And Buffy is cheerful about slaying vampires and going to the mall.
That's right. Captain America is very noble, but he's also a soldier. Batman, kind of grim, not big on smiling. Deadpool, very irreverent, very kind of laid back and easygoing. And then you have Superman, who is noble, Boy Scout, powerful.
And looking down his nose at everyone.
What?
He thinks he's better than everyone. He's always superior.
Well, it could be the way he was raised. Wasn't Supergirl supposed to be the one to, like, help raise him and she got lost? It's not his fault she's a bad driver. What? The truth hurt? So now that you're keeping in mind the personality of the character, you want to strike a pose that befits that particular character. It could be just standing there, it could be being menacing, it could be even an action pose. Yeah.
For example, here are a few poses I use for Supergirl. Here are some for Buffy.
So here are a few that are really good for Batman. Here's some for the Joker, Captain America, Superman.
A 3/4 turn can show off your physique and make your pose look more interesting by not just showing one angle of it.
And action poses can be even better. Punching, kicking, doing some kind of action can make the shot look very dynamic, even if you're just in a fighting stance. Now, a couple things to keep in mind when you're posing with a punch. I see a lot of cosplayers make the mistake of holding their fist wrong. They might have their thumb up here, they might have their thumb inside, which if you punch someone with your thumb inside, you're looking to get hurt, unless you're Kryptonian. You want it to look real. You want your wrist to be straight, on a straight line. This is pretty much a classic martial arts type strike, but you want it strong. Having a bent wrist, if you were to punch in real life that way, would hurt you. And people looking at a picture of you doing a punch with a bent wrist, no good.
When you're punching, move into the punch instead of just holding your arm out. If you do that, you look like you're holding an arm out, making a fist. Or holding a lantern. The only time this pose is really sensible. You want it to look dynamic. Also, tensing your muscles when you're making an action pose can help show off your muscles and make you look more powerful.
Now for kicking, unless you have exceptional balance, holding a kick is very difficult, so you might want to use some kind of burst shot and go through the motion of kicking. You don't have to do it full speed, you could do it in slow motion, and obviously you don't want to actually kick someone unless they deserve it. But if your camera is fast enough, you should be able to get at least a couple usable shots. Now you can also use this to jump as if you're flying, jumping off a curb. Just of course make sure you have a good place to land. And using burst shots can definitely help with those types of action poses, or even for photoshopping later. So of course, if you're just being stopped for a picture at a con, you're not necessarily going to be kicking this person or jumping for them, but still a lot of the action poses can definitely help out.
There's always a battle stance that's quick and easy to get into, and that stance itself can reflect the character's personality. Here's how I pose when Supergirl is getting ready for a fight. Now Buffy might stand more like this, and Raven is a different type of fighter.
Now Batman's battle poses are more about bringing fear to a cowardly and superstitious foe. Captain America is more about dynamic, physical fighting. Superman is all about the power and confidence.
These poses are dynamic, but you should probably have more than one. Experiment with several so you can quickly get into a new pose.
Many photographers, when they stop you, will ask for several pictures and they might ask you to change your pose. Improvising is great, but having 2 to 4 different poses that you know look good is very helpful and you can quickly get into them. Another way to make your photos look great is the expression on your face. Of course, if you're wearing a full face mask or a helmet, you can still do the face, but we're not going to see it.
The facial expression can either be about the character's personality or the action if you're doing an action shot.
If you're Q from Star Trek, an almost bored and superior look on your face might be very appropriate. For Batman, or the governor from The Walking Dead, or Oliver Queen, you know, who is constantly just in a bad mood.
Or Angel.
Or Angel, you know, looking kind of grim, that's the way to go. Superman, Supergirl, and Captain America might have a more open expression, more cheerful.
Less menacing.
Right. Smiles are not out of the question there. Thor might be a bit full of himself. And Tony Stark, confident, a little bit arrogant, a little bit playboyish, millionaire, philanthropist, all that stuff.
And when you're in an action pose, your face should show that you're doing something exciting. You don't want to look bored or relaxed when you're supposed to be getting ready to fight. Though with some crazy characters, you can look very happy about it.
Now for some shots, looking at the camera might be a good thing. But for others, it might be more interesting to be looking somewhere else.
You could be looking at an approaching enemy or just keeping an eye out for danger.
Or you could be looking off into the distance, weary but resolute in your quest for truth, justice, and the human way. I think they got rid of the American way. A battle you will never stop fighting, even if your lame cousin took a detour instead of raising you in the manner of your people.
Wasn't her fault. Blame an exploding planet for knocking her off course, maybe?
You know, that exploding planet excuse, if you heard it once, you've heard it 100 times. A lot of people have some great props, particularly weapons, and they are great to pose with. But if you want to have your picture look good, it's good to know how to hold it properly. With guns, you see some people holding them like so. And in real life, if they held a gun like this and pulled the trigger, the recoil would smash them in the face. Find out the proper stance to hold a weapon. If it's a pistol or a rifle, any realistic modern day gun, there are plenty of references as to the proper way to hold them, even if you've never fired one in your entire life. And for phasers and other fictitious weapons, well, watch the show they're in and note how they hold them on the show.
For swords, you might want to watch some martial arts or fencing videos to get an idea how to hold it. No one expects you to duel anyone, but if you hold it properly, the photo can look a lot better. Even
props like a baseball bat. I've seen people with baseball bat props, and it's pretty obvious they've never held one before in their life. Now, I'm not a big sports fan, but you can watch a little bit of a sports game, it won't kill you, and see how they hold the bat, you know, and get used to it. And even if you're not a big fan, you've probably held the bat at some point in your life, so you want to hold it as if you're going to swing it. Going through the motions, but of course stopping before you actually bash someone in the skull can still add that motion as if you're about to actually hit someone, and again, makes it more dynamic looking.
Quick note, if you have a cosplay weapon and are posing with someone, be sure to ask before pointing it at them. Make sure they know it's a prop and are comfortable with whatever you're doing. A lot of people do enjoy having a knife or a bat or whatever to their throat, but you want to ask.
Bat to the throat. You know, there are some cosplayers who spend months working on their props, and they add all these details and colors and even LED lights. They're amazing in every detail.
And even if you didn't make it yourself, you might have paid a lot for a screen-accurate replica.
But one thing that I notice a lot of cosplayers do who use prop weapons is they point it directly at the camera, and that hides a ton of the detail. You know, if you point it to the side, if you point it as if you're shooting over there, if you hold it in the ready position, that's going to display a lot more of your prop.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with pointing it at the camera for a
certain
cool shot, but don't do it all the time. Even props that aren't weapons can be held in a way that shows off more of the detail. You obviously want to wear it or display it realistically, so work out a few poses that can show off all that detail.
You know, for some action poses, you might actually be with other cosplayers and both be in the shot. And then you can do a dynamic battle pose where you're about to fight, you're just threatening each other in each other's faces. You know, in a real fight though, you'd probably be facing them more directly. Here's where, again, that three-quarter pose, you want to be standing a little bit not super realistic for the fight scene, so people can see all the detail on your costume. Though, even in a real fight, you're not necessarily standing straight on, but mirror each other's battle poses, so you're both kind of opening up towards the camera, and it'll make it look much better.
And because it's a still photo, if the other cosplayer is okay with it, you can actually have some physical contact. You don't have to hover your fist near their face. Even if you just barely touch it, or if you're comfortable with it, press in, makes it look like there's an actual physical contact happening.
Provided, of course, they're comfortable with whatever physical contact you're doing.
I'm very comfortable.
But yeah, of course, discuss it beforehand, before you get into the pose. There are lots of things that you can do. You can have your weapon pointed at someone, they could look all scared. You could have kryptonite and they could look like they're weakened. You could even do some comedy things. So you could just have fun with the different poses. But with another person there, it definitely opens up your possibilities.
The main thing is to just come up with a quick plan. A good idea of what you want to do. It doesn't have to be action, just interesting.
And it's also a good idea to discuss where people are going to look during the photo. If you're back-to-back, ready to face foes, you shouldn't have one person looking at the camera and one person looking over here, because this person's not doing their job. A lot of cosplayers are very comfortable and have posed with other cosplayers before, so generally it works out pretty great. And if it's a battle scene with a bunch of cosplayers, which are a lot of fun, make sure that people are looking in directions that make sense.
One thing I like to do for a lot of my cosplay shots is recreate scenes from comic books. My favorite thing to do is recreate the Crisis on Infinite Earths cover where Superman is holding the body of Supergirl.
No! Oh wait, sorry, that was Star Wars.
But other scenes as well, and a lot of cosplayers do this.
Absolutely. Or an iconic scene from a TV show or a movie. There's just so much to pick from that can give homage to the original material, and it looks really cool. And it doesn't have to be perfectly dead on.
No, but it's a good base for a dynamic pose.
Right, or it could have a twist, a comedic twist.
Some of these could be quick and simple poses you can do when someone asks you for a photo at a con, but some you might want to have a friend or a professional photographer and set it up.
Right. A lot of people ask me to cut their heads off.
And it's pretty easy.
Well, I'm very happy to do it. I'm there to serve. Now, all these tips are great, but you're there at a con in a cosplay to have fun. So have fun with it. And you can improvise, you can do all kinds of stuff, different angles, just experiment, do something different.
A lot of times you'll just be messing around with other cosplayer friends and come up with some silly pictures that just turn out to be awesome. So don't be afraid to experiment and try something weird, like climbing up into a subway girder.
But you can definitely try different angles. You can try having the light coming behind you with lens flare to make it more dramatic, or just have someone climb up on something, or even use things around you as props to make it look like you're holding up a building or a wall, stuff like that.
Yeah, I try to make the most out of any environment, and some of my favorite photos, if you just zoom out a little more, look kind of boring. But you just gotta find the perfect place.
So those are 9 tips. We'd love to hear your ideas for making cosplay photos great. And of course, I'd like to thank May for joining us for this video. And I'm gonna put a link to her channel. She has a great video on how to get more Instagram followers and Instagram likes, which definitely ties in.
Yeah, once you have these great photos, you want to show them off to people.
For everyone out there, we'd love to hear your thoughts. If you tried these, does that pump up your cosplay photos? Do you have some techniques that you'd like to throw in, or something to add on something that we may not have covered as in-depth as we could have? And if you use these techniques, we'd love to see the results. You can follow us on Instagram at Cosplay Spotlite, right there.
And on Twitter, so tweet at us.
Tag us in your photos, and it'd be even cool to see some before and afters. Like, this is how I used to pose, and this is how I pose now. Again, mash that thumbs up if you like this video. And as always, have fun and cosplay on.